Hey, this is John Cardillo. I'm here today for Ezra Levant, and this is Battleground. So if you don't know, this is how Battleground works, and it's really cool. I'm really excited to be sitting in for Ezra today. Here on Battleground, I'm going to talk about a couple of topics. So I'm going to start with North Korea. Big news, Donald Trump is backing out of the summit, but we want your comments, and Kai Brown just commented. Hi, Kai. We want to talk about what you want to talk about as much as what I want to talk about. So feel free, throw your comments out there. We're going to have a lot of fun this next hour, and hopefully we're going to go through some really cool and important information. So you've seen, obviously, that President Trump has pulled out of the summit. Pretty remarkable stuff. I was reading the president's letter to Kim Jong-un in North Korea. The president basically told him, hey, don't insult the vice president. I mean, I'm paraphrasing Donald Trump. Well, hi, guys. Hi, MSLIL and Rogue Jen. There you are. Please proceed. I'm glad you're here. Well, wow, and somebody from Brazil. We have... Hey, Craig, how are you, man? But this was a big deal. The president of the United States basically told Kim Jong-un, without saying it, don't insult my vice president. Don't insult the United States, because by insulting the office of the vice president, right, you insult the United States. And by the way, little rocket man, don't go threatening us with nukes, because our nuclear arsenal is much bigger than yours. Lois, what does my purple bracelet mean? Great question. It's for a very rare form of cancer, leiomyosarcoma, and it's an awareness bracelet for that type of cancer. Rare cancer does not get a lot of money in research, but a high fatality rate. But thanks for asking about that. Glad you noticed it. This is very interesting what President Trump is doing here. It's a new form of diplomacy. Hi, Jane, the Isle of Man. Really cool place. I Google places like that all the time. And I'll tell you guys what I love. I love seeing how international our audience is. It's really very cool for me because of my radio career and things I've done in the past media-wise. I've always been a domestic guy here in the U.S. And it's been one of the best parts about working with the Rebel has been having this international audience. All right, so Cyanide Junkie. What happens when Muller denies full disclosure and is forced to drop charges of the Russian company? From Cyanide Junkie. Now, what I think Cyanide Junkie means... And you know what? He's right. Let's move on to Muller, because that's a little more interesting than North Korea. Trump's out of the North Korea summit, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But this is a great question about Robert Mueller. So if Mueller doesn't fully disclose his exculpatory evidence, and exculpatory evidence is evidence beneficial to the defense, if it's found to be that he didn't disclose that to General Flynn's lawyers, to Paul Manafort's lawyers, Rick Gates' lawyers, even the lawyers of those Russian entities, we don't even know if they're real, then properly, procedurally, what ought to happen is the judge should either dismiss charges, sanction Mueller's team, things of that nature. Will that happen? Well, we will see. We'll see. Logan's Warning is saying, hi, John, it's time for Westerners to face the fact that we cannot coexist with Islam. It needs to be reevaluated and stripped of religious status. And it's, that's been a very interesting debate as, what is religion? It's a philosophical debate. And remember, by the way, here on Battleground, if you donate a couple of bucks to the Rebel, we can either pin your tweet, your comment, highlight your comment. I'm on Twitter so often, I think everything's a tweet. We can pin your comment. We can highlight your comment. So if you feel so inclined, throw us a donation. We'd always appreciate it. But it is an interesting discussion about Islam, isn't it? What constitutes a religion? If any group commits violence upon violence upon violence, where does their religious status end and their designation as an organized criminal enterprise or a terror enterprise begin? And I'll say this, because we're certainly not going to be able to answer that question in the hour that we're here on air. That is definitely a conversation I wish more politicians around the world would have. And Miss Little Pig says she loves the fact that the Rebel is worldwide. I do too. I do too. How do I pronounce this? Chachi asked if I'm from... Oh, asking somebody else if they're from... Sorry. Let's see. Hi, John. Has Rebel explored the possibility that Bill Nye, the ice cream guy, should face any charges for grooming kids? Well, I don't know if Bill Nye, the science guy, if there's any evidence that he's ever done anything with kids outside of some internet conspiracy theories. So let's not go there. Logan's Warning, my pleasure to answer the question for you. I love going to these topics. By the way, you guys are really posing. Your messages are coming up quick and furiously. I love it. And you guys are posing some very, very interesting questions. This is really, really cool. So I really appreciate that. Alexander Matheson says, Islam is a cult, not a religion. Death for apostolic isn't religion. Well, a lot of people feel that way. And a lot of people feel that certain sects of Islam they do mirror cult-like behavior more than religious behavior. That I would argue that ISIS was certainly a cult. The Taliban is certainly a cult. Cutting off teachers' heads and stoning women for daring to read books that's not very religious to me. Hi, the Corker. Hey, hi from Nova Scotia as well. Nova Scotia is an absolutely beautiful part of the world. So hello right back from here in, I wish I could say sunny South Florida, but horribly overcast South Florida. A lot of comments on Islam. So this one hits home for me, right? I mean, I was a New York City cop. Many of you guys know that. Quick delve into my background. If you don't know me, I host Off the Cuff and the longer show, Off the Cuff Declassified on the Rebel. I was a syndicated radio guy in the U.S., started working with the Rebel, really loved what they were doing. We had some conversations. I joined them about 9 months ago. And my background was NYPD. I was NYPD and worked on a federal task force, went into the private sector, still chasing bad guys, and then did a lot of media work with Fox News, Fox Business, 2 syndicated radio shows, actually, where my forte was always political analysis with an angle toward national security and law enforcement. And you might have guessed it, I'm a pretty conservative guy. You might have had that as a takeaway if you've ever listened to my show or seen me on any other media. And Lauren Southern asks me, John, what do you think of Justin Trudeau? Well, I try to not think of Justin Trudeau. I think, unfortunately, he's the Barack Obama of Canada. And I feel for my good friends up in Canada who have to deal with this guy and the way he embarrasses their nation and weakens and defends, likes the letter that President Trump sent Kim Jong-un. I love that letter that President Trump sent to Kim Jong-un. I think it was an incredibly powerful letter that painted the United States of America in a very, very good light. I think it paints the United States in a very, very good light. I think Marxism and Islam are both sent by Satan. I think a lot of people might agree with you. Here's the thing. When people say moderate Islam, moderate Muslims. Well, moderate Muslims to me are not really Muslims, because Islam is a religion, unlike many of the various silos of Christianity and Judaism, where if you're not an adherent Muslim, there are other Muslims who want to kill you. If I miss church on a Sunday, other Catholics don't come to kill me. I don't have to be afraid to put on Twitter, oops, I was there late for Easter Mass. I don't have to worry about being stoned or my car blown up. So there is some credibility to that. Gary Morley, New York cops were great to me. Another story. No, Gary, tell me the story. I want to hear it. Because police get such a bad rap, and I love hearing good stories about police officer. Andrea says, yay, NYPD. Yep, I feel that way as well. Although I feel really sorry for my friends, my former coworkers, a lot of good friends still on the job in New York. They have to work for Bill de Blasio in New York City. They have to work for Bill de Blasio. And it's somebody like that I called Justin Trudeau the Barack Obama of Canada. Well, he is. Andrea Hetherington says there is no such thing as a moderate Muslim. Andrea, I would tend to agree with you. For people who are adherents to Islam, I've not seen any that I would find true moderates. Blake Runner says Trudeau is a kid in a diaper and a pacifier. They can't handle his tantrums. That's how we in the States, Blake, felt about Obama. John Christian Anderson says Trudeau is a moronic little girl that destroys Canada again. How we in the States, us conservatives, felt about Barack Obama. So thank you very much. Jane Nash, Catholics and Protestant did kill each other, though. Great point. But I think you understand the context in which I'm saying it. And that context is that I don't have to be afraid to tweet something about my not adhering strictly to Catholicism for fear of being beheaded on the street or having my home blown up by some lunatic. Okay, the Corker said, John, do you think Obama was behind the spying on the Trump campaign? Absolutely. I think what happened here, I think the missing link in all of this, and one we're going to find out, is that Barack Obama and John Brennan, his CIA director, James Clapper, his director of national intelligence, began this operation against the Trump campaign. They ran an illegal spying operation against U.S. persons on American soil, something that's illegal. CIA, most notably, but the intelligence community on the whole is not supposed to. It's illegal for them to operate on American soil, especially against Americans. So yes, the Corker, I absolutely do. And I think that's the missing link in all this. I think that once the Obama administration realized how badly they had acted. They used their Department of Justice under Loretta Lynch, their FBI under James Comey to try to cover up for Clapper and Brennan in the intelligence community. And I think this will shake out to be the greatest political scandal in American history, one of the greatest in global history. That was an absolutely outstanding question. Thank you very much for asking it. Thank you. And thank you for the donation, by the way. Okay, John, I was blown up outside Grand Central Station on 2017. The NYPD was very helpful. Being a visitor from the UK, I'm really glad to hear that the NYPD helped you out. The men and women of the NYPD, 35,000 of them, do an amazing job every day. Thank you very much for and God, I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay. I hope your family's okay. John Smith, Trudeau is a complete failure to Canada. Thanks to him, we are being run over by illegal immigrants. Barack Obama did to us, John. That's what he did to us, John. And it's sad. Andrea Hetherington said, we had 8 years of Obama's sissy pants policy. I'm so thankful for Trump, and I wasn't even a Republican until Trump. I woke the hell up, never been happier. Do you know that I saw some internal numbers, Andrea? There was 40% in some states, in some areas, 40% Democratic crossover for Donald Trump. Yep. Some areas, 40% of formerly Democrat voters switched the aisle to vote for Donald Trump. And thanks very much for doing it. America's stronger for it. This is, wow, you guys are throwing me comments very, very quickly. I absolutely love it. A little bit more on the Obama spying scandal. And so now I think that we're learning a lot more about this spy thrown into the Trump campaign, this guy, Stephen Halper. And I think that in and of itself is going to be a great, great scandal. Donald Trump was tweeting about this. He was noting that this guy was paid more money than any other advisor to those agencies. Kathy Scheidel asks, did you work at a Fort Apache precinct in the Bronx back in the day? No, but not far away. Fort Apache was the 41st, the 4-1 precinct. I worked in the 4-6 precinct. We were called the Alamo. The Fort Apache was a little bit east of us. I was on the west side of the Bronx. I was just north of Yankee Stadium. Both pretty nasty areas. And even to this day, pretty rough areas. If you saw the president at the law enforcement memorial last week, hugging that family of Detective Mia Soto's familia who was killed. She was actually killed in my old precinct. We had mutual friends. I didn't know her. She was killed on a corner that I worked countless nights. It was a very rough area then, very rough area today. David Newman, hello from England. Hello, David from South Florida. How are you? Gary, a natural gas explosion, no serious injuries. Great to hear. And again, I'm so glad the NYPD took care of you, Gary. Really, really appreciate you letting everybody know that. Makes me proud of my old age. Logan's warning. Keep up the good work, John. Would love for the opportunity to call in one day. Tell you what, Logan, that is something we here at The Rebel are talking about. I would love to be able to interact that way with the guests. And definitely something on the radar because this is so much fun. Vizik says, John Cardillo, you're great at this format. Thank you very much. In fairness, though, I was a radio guy before I was a video guy, TV guy. So this comes pretty natural to me. And I find this, there's nothing I love more when I'm on air than engaging with the audience. I could do this with you guys. I wish we had more than an hour. I could do this with you guys for 8 hours. I love this. It's so much fun for me. I think, all right, real men fish. First of all, I love fishing. I spear dive. I scuba dive. I spearfish. I lobster. One of my favorite comments, I think Nancy Pelosi is setting herself up for an insanity plea. I couldn't agree more. There is definitely something a little off these days about Nancy Pelosi. Hillary's best political buddy, Jesus is Lord, writes, Hillary's best political buddy was Senator Byrd, Robert Byrd, of course, the senator from West Virginia, grand wizard of the KKK back in the day. She even eulogized at his funeral. And the Democrats called Senator Byrd, if you don't know this, the conscience of the Senate, even though he had been a senior member of the KKK. Gary Morley is asking what I think about a daughter's Lee's statement. I'm not sure, Gary, who we're talking about here. Sorry, something I might have missed. So, John, will you do this more often? You're doing a great job. That is a very, very real possibility. So you're going to want to stay tuned to The Rebel. Okay, let's speak about Israel versus Iran. Israel is the good guy. Iran is the bad guy. Iran is the world's worst state sponsor of terror. They want to carve out a Shia crescent. They work with Hezbollah, which is now not only the de facto leadership in Lebanon, but the actual political leadership in Lebanon. They would love nothing more than to surround Israel. Iran would eventually eradicate Israel with help from their Muslim partners in the region, most notably Hezbollah and Hamas. And I think that we need to be a friend to Israel the way we've been. We're becoming a great friend to Israel again with President Donald Trump, his relationship with Netanyahu. It is critical. It is critical that Western nations galvanize around Israel, because if we lose Israel, then our other coalition partners fall. And I want to point something out, how remarkable it is what Donald Trump has pulled off here. Not only is is the relationship with Israel and the United States remedied and getting stronger, but coalition partners, Muslim nations like Jordan, because of the renewed strength of the United States, are now seeing Israel as an equal partner in the security coalition in the region. And Rogue Jen says, yay, more John on Battleground. This is fun, right, guys? This is a good time. Okay, so Gary says the Salisbury, UK nerve agent attack. Gary, unfortunately, I haven't been following it. I'm so inundated with news surrounding Trump and North Korea, but it sounds very interesting. I'm going to get on that, because I know the story you're talking about now, but I have to acknowledge I just have not had a chance to dig into that one. I haven't. We could do, Ruby Tuesday says, we could do with somebody like Trump for PM here in the UK. Yes, you could. Yes, you could. I think every country would do pretty well with a Donald Trump. Now, wouldn't they? Art Vandalay is saying Israel commits acts of atrocities and others fight their wars. Trump ended the NPT so Israel could attack Iran through Syria. Art, stop. Israel is allowed to defend itself. Even Hamas admitted that the 60 or so people killed were Hamas terrorists. And Hamas uses women and children, and they fake being on crutches to cause a diversion over here while Hamas terror cells try to infiltrate Israel and other places. The IDF did a great job. In my opinion, you're talking to a former NYPD guy who lost friends on 9/11 who lived just north of the towers. I don't think the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, killed enough of them. You're going to get no sympathy from me for Hamas or any other terrorist in the world. Gary, I've got that. I'm going to just saw your comment. I'm going to research that after the show. Thanks very much, Gary, for clarifying that for me. And it is the nerve agent story is an interesting story, and I'm going to get on that. Yeah, Andrea, I agree. The weird Iran defenders tend to make me puke as well. Thank you very, very much. You know, the no, Stan, Israel is not the aggressor in many cases. Israel has been under constant attack since the 1940s, and I think they have every right to defend themselves. If a vicious gang surrounded your home and tried to kill you, and all the surrounding neighborhoods wanted you dead as well, you'd probably be on the defense, and you'd probably shoot first and ask questions later. Got to talk more about Matt Rosendale trying to unseat Senator Tester in Montana. Yeah, actually, we should be talking more about those elections. But I do think it's a great way to segue into something we should have been talking about for the American viewers here on Battleground. It's the midterm elections. And remember, if you guys donate a couple of bucks, your comment's going to pop right out at me on the screen, and we can dig deep into it. Yeah, the midterms here. I think the Democrats had delusions of grandeur with a blue wave. Corker, I gotcha. I'm going to be right there. Had delusions of grandeur with this blue wave. I think that the Republicans hold the House. I think we pick up seats in the Senate. We may lose a couple of seats in the House at this point, but congressional polling, the generic ballot is showing Republicans up about 1.5 points. That's on the rise. The Corker, John. I think conservative leader Andrew Scheer should state that carbon dioxide is good for the environment. It would be controversial, but it would be a real curveball that Trudeau would have to deal with. Thoughts? You know, that is very interesting. It's something I was reading about the other day. Normally my show is national security issues, but I agree with you. There are new studies showing that it can be beneficial, and I think every politician that lies, Corker, to push a far-left radical agenda should be held to task. So absolutely, I believe that conservative politicians who don't want to engage in junk science should call every liberal to task, whether it be Trudeau, whether it be the Barack Obamas, the Al Gores that are still out there. I absolutely do. Rhaegar, I'm sorry, it's Targaryen. Hopefully I said your name correctly. Trump putting the kibosh on the summit was a boss move. I could not agree more. I especially love when he jabbed Kim Jong-un and he goes, hey, and by the way, thanks for those hostages. I mean, it was a boss move. It was a great move. Lauren Southern also says carbon dioxide is good for the environment. It's really interesting. When I read those reports the other day, I spoke to a couple of friends of mine who are college professors. One is a botanist, and she now works for a county in South Florida handling all of these issues, preservation in the Everglades and wetlands and things of that nature, estuaries. And she's pretty conservative, and she said to me, it's absolutely good for the environment. All this junk science is nonsense. And so this is an issue that's gotten me a little more interested. So thanks, guys, for bringing it up. Alexander Matheson, the Arabs have tried to take over Europe since 500 BC. Now we're just handing it over because they asked nicely, the EU is retarded. Yeah, you guys are kind of handing it over. I'm sorry, man. You guys are kind of just, although I have a little bit of faith in Macron, and I will tell you guys one thing. The new U.S. ambassador to Germany, Rick Grinnell, is a personal friend of mine. And Rick is no pushover. So I think you're going to start seeing a sea change with the way Merkel in Germany, or Angela, start handling some of the issues that they were very soft on under Obama. Rick is a really good guy and really knows his stuff. National security, global security-centric guy. I have a lot of faith in him. I'm not just saying that because he's a buddy of mine. Iran under the Shah was allied with Israel. Look, this is why Iran, and that's from, how do I say this? Fast Heinz 039. Iran under the Shah. And guys, I'm sorry that I'm kind of sniffling a little. Allergies are terrible with this weather change here in South Florida. It's been terribly overcast. Pollen is terrible. Ticks, really bad as well. Haven't seen a tick season like this in a long time. A lot of downed trees. I've had to take my dogs twice to be re-dipped for ticks and put more medication on them. Really, really bad. But Iran under the Shah was friendly to the United States, friendly to Israel. That's why Iran is complex. The mullahs, Khomeini, Rouhani, they do not represent the Iranian people. And that's what Trump is doing so masterfully. He's not lumping them in together. So he's taking a hard line on the mullahs, understanding that the population in Iran, especially, those who are in their 20s to 50s, remember better times under the Shah. They were little kid. Well, not that they're in their 20s, but their parents do. And he's very careful to move toward the people of Iran while being hard on the mullahs. And I think it is a brilliant strategy. Make North Africa green again. Make Greenland green again. Yeah, hey, let's make everywhere green again. Only good things. Iran is complicit, from Andrea again, in the disgusting farce happening all over Europe, just like Saudi Arabia. The Iran nuclear deal just gave them the power to extort even more. Not only the power to extort, Andrea, great point, but the power to do it under the cover of international law. You couldn't go in, check them out, and call them on that. Who hasn't bought Iranian oil? Well, you're right, Andrea, again, and that's why Germany sold Iran the binary chemical weapons components that they used in Syria, because Germany wanted to play in the Iranian oil game. Native Indian says, end soy boys and it will make the world green. I couldn't agree more. We have a bigger problem here in the U.S. The Boy Scouts of America is no more. Now it's Scouts BSA, and they're going to admit girls. They're going to admit girls into the Boy Scouts. And you know who's most upset about that? The Girl Scouts, because it's poaching their membership. The Girl Scouts are more upset that the Boy Scouts are going to admit girls than most other people. John, what are your thoughts on Antifa? I think Antifa are a bunch of terrorists who should be in handcuffs. Look, I'm a former cop. I'm a big proponent of the Second Amendment. I think if you legally can carry a firearm, carry that firearm. I do every day, everywhere I'm allowed to legally carry. And one of the reasons is the growing threats of violent groups like Antifa. They're using weapons, they're violent, and they are domestic terrorists every bit as much as anybody else. Horrible, horrible human beings. Bob Sabatier says, I did a good job of handling the troll Art Vandelay. No pun on Art's name. That's obviously from Seinfeld, George Costanza, Art Vandelay. But I am artful at handling trolls. What I do. Israel trained Iranian Air Force on how to fly the F-4 Phantom. That was an awesome plane from the Vietnam days, wasn't it? Now Israel is deploying our F-35, and they're doing some real damage with it. I love seeing that. It's absolutely awesome. Rhaegar says, I think the Girl Scouts surprisingly will have no boys crying to be admitted there. No agenda here. Yeah, I think you're right. Because little boys don't want to go and join the Girl Scouts. This is all about, you know what this is about. This is about transgenderism and multiculturalism. This is about all of that. And it's disgraceful and it's disgusting. Andrea says, punchback people, don't let Antifa drive the narrative. Exactly, Andrea. Do not let them. Oh my God, this is so random, but remember high school. I don't know if that's for me, but no. I mean, I do remember high school, but not as much as I used to. It was a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, hung out with one of my high school buddies who lives down here in South Florida just a couple of days ago. Interestingly, we didn't reminisce about high school. Boy Scouts are hurting boys. My son is gone, Andrea says. Antifa beat up Mike Cernovich. They didn't really beat up Mike. They kind of shoved him around a little bit. Mike's a big guy. He held his own. Boy Scouts are hurting my son is gone. You know, my brother, I have a nephew. He's going to be 13 in August, and he was always on the fence about Boy Scouts. He plays lacrosse and soccer, and he loves golf, and just doing all that. I never really had time for Boy Scouts. He thought about it, and now it's completely off the table in our family because of their far left plant. And it's going to be an indoctrination. Darla, did we go to high school together, or did you just want to know if I remember high school? I would love to know. Canada needs a First and Second Amendment. Yes, you do. No further commentary on that. I saw some of these assaults you guys are talking about. Defense, really looking forward to when Trump writes at GFY. We know what that means. Go F yourself letter to Justin Trudeau. It can't happen soon enough. Here's the thing, right? Trump grew up in Queens, a few neighborhoods away from where I did. I know the kind of guy he is. I think he kind of feels bad for Trudeau. He doesn't take him seriously. He knows that Trump knows that, hey, look, Canada's our friend. If anything, God forbid, ever happens, where an aggressive force heads toward Canada, we're going to help them out anyway. And I want to say this. I've interfaced with Justin Trudeau is not representative of the law enforcement and military in Canada. In my travels, I've interfaced with the RCMP investigators, with the RCMP and their investigators. Phenomenal cops, top-notch cops. I worked with them on cases back in the day, and I've met some of your special operations guys, especially from JTF2, hardcore operators. It's sad that a guy like Trudeau betrays just how good Canadian special operations, military, law enforcement, your pilots are. And I suspect, though, so many Canadians I engage with now, since I've been with the Rebel, I don't think it's long before Canada has an awakening like the United States had, and you find yourself with a Trump-esque kind of guy or girl home in your country. I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. Fast time 039, Japan, South Korea, Turkey, and Iran. Last countries that still fly the F-4 Phantom. I think you're right. There's still a bunch of F-4s out there. Man, that plane was just badass. It was very, very cool. Very, very cool. Can you apply for a job as a supply host? I don't know. I'm not HR. But hey, now they know you want one. Oh, they've heard me. Okay, here we go, guys. So let's talk about this now, because a couple more questions earlier that I didn't get to about Mueller. I'm very troubled. When Mueller was first appointed, I thought Mueller was an ethical actor. And now I don't. 13 or 16 now. Hillary supporting Democrats on his team. All of these issues with exculpatory evidence not being disclosed. And more full disclosure, I know General Flynn. I'm friendly with the Flynn family. I predict, could be wrong, rarely am on this stuff, that General Flynn will ultimately come out of this okay. Roldap says the RCMP have been reduced to bellhops at the border processing illegals. That's pretty much what I mean. The RCMP are incredibly well-trained cops. They're good at what they do. Their investigators are some of the best in the world, squared away, precise. It's very sad what liberal agendas are doing to them. Rogue Jen says, I'm an Eagle Scout, and I hate where it's gone the last few years. There are homosexuals at the troop discretion level. Now girls. Listen, I think it's not unique to the Boy Scouts, the Eagles. By the way, and congratulations. Rising to level Eagle Scout is no easy feat. Congrats for that. But it's tragic how traditional institutions around the world, not just here in the U.S., not in Canada, around the world are being attacked by the left. Somebody just, Lauren Southern said, is it in the best interest of businesses in Ontario that have the highest electric bills in North America? It is never in the interest of any business to be burdened with more expenses. A business should be left to keep as much of its earned money as possible, because left to its own devices, business wants to grow. And that business will ultimately reinvest in its people, in research and development, in new products, in new trucks, and expansion. Only good things happen to an economy, Lauren, when businesses are allowed to keep more of their own money. Only good things. Only good things. Really. We saw that with tax reform here in the U.S. I had a friend talking about tariffs and tax reform, very wealthy guy, older guy in his 70s, and he owns a business where he buys, about 7 million pounds of aluminum yearly. And he said that he is already starting to see the benefits. Already. It's been months. And his business is starting to see benefits. And he predicts this is going to mean a lot to his bottom line. So what was the first thing he said to me? He said, yeah, I'm going to have to hire like 100 more people. 100 more people. 100 more people because his costs are coming down. So he's going to be able to make more product. He's already back ordered. 100 jobs will be created in this one business here down in Miami. It is. Blake Runner says, feminist agenda pushing men as a doormat. Blake, you hit a sore spot with me. This drives me nuts. The emasculation of men, the feminization of men, these television commercials where the woman goes into the loan officer's office at the bank, puts her feet on the desk, and her moron husband is sitting in the corner. And the guy goes, hey, do you want to add anything? And I'll just have a water. It's embarrassing. And it's not what men are supposed to be. Look, I'm not saying women aren't supposed to be strong and engage in business. God bless them. Do that. But don't portray the men as this moron, this sheepish little fool sitting in the corner. It's sending a terrible message to American boys, to Canadian boys, to British boys, to men around the world. Andrea, I love Andrea's one of the best commenters today. Let men be men, let boys grow into men. It's beneficial to the world and especially women. It is. If you look at the crime rates here in the United States, they skyrocketed right after the 60s when that whole movement of getting away from traditional marriage and divorce and alternative lifestyles started to spring up. Okay, Chaz, 1422, thank you for bringing this up. I was going to get there in 3 minutes. Perfect timing, my friend. Another lie by Black Lives Matter activist Sharita Dixon Cole blaming police for raping her after being pulled over. Okay, you guys haven't seen this story, and I talked about this on my show Off the Cuff Declassified today. Why I'm now a fan of police body cameras. This woman accused Texas Highway Patrol Trooper, Department of Public Safety Trooper, Daniel Hubbard, of raping her after he pulled her over for DWI. Black Lives Matter activist Sean King, that white guy who makes believe he's black, blasted the trooper on Twitter. An attorney, a black activist, social justice attorney named Esley Merritt, blasted the trooper. Well, the Texas Department of Public Safety released that dash cam video, 2 hours of it. Trooper acted professionally. All of these racists are now forced to mea culpa. But you know what they haven't done? They haven't apologized to the trooper. It's disgraceful. Guys, you are right. An absolute lie. Disgusting. Disgusting. Dave Haji says, sissification of boys continues. Dave, you're right. It's disgraceful. No good. And going back to the police officer real quick, the trooper, he was professional. He was courteous. His agency backed him up. And I love that these lying criminals, social justice warriors now look like fools. BH said they look so stupid on that dash cam video. Yes, they do. Yes, they do, and I couldn't be happier. When I introed that segment on my other show here on The Rebel today, I said, I love doing this every day, and you guys can see I'm having fun here. This is really, really fun for me. But that was a story I was so excited to bring you. I loved it. It was awesome. That was awesome. St. Joan of Arc, Jean of Arc. Wow, we have really important people joining us. Says, feminists are jealous and resentful of men. All these Marxist groups seem to be based on jealousy and resentment of the other group. Yeah, feminists are just like chicks who can't get dates, really, and they're bitter and angry, and then they wonder why. And like, there are many feminists out there that are really attractive, but they're so mean and nasty and angry that they wonder why. No guy wants to take them to dinner. Maybe if you just acted a little sweeter, you were more of a civil human being, you might not be so miserable. Andrea, I've never been happier for police departments to bow to the SJWs with dash cams. Well, and Andrea, now you say it proves just how wrong the social justice warriors are. Yeah, not only that, now all of a sudden, because these dash cams, these body cams, are having unintended consequences, now all of a sudden now they're racist. Real Men Fish, no, I have not seen any truth to these reports that the FCC raided CNN and AP for spreading fake news. Now, don't believe these conspiracy theory sites. Look, good rule of thumb. Unless the outlet or the individual bringing you reports is a known commodity, don't fall for clickbait. And typically, if a story like that was true, it would be top of line news. You'd have the right reporting it in favor, you'd have the left reporting it against, but at least you would see credible outlets pushing it out. So when it's some random site that you've never heard of, I wouldn't believe it. Barbara Green, third wave feminists like rabid animals. They don't even know what fighting for rights really was like because they never had to fight for anything in their lives. Yeah, right? Isn't that true? Aren't they normally these overeducated PhD trust fund babies who've been handed everything their entire lives and they just like hate the world? Anyway, great point. Hunky Monkey, Obama was awful for Israel. Obama cost Israel war and soldiers. Obama was horrible for the world. Many, many people died at the hands of ISIS brutally, because Obama did nothing. Obama did nothing. Rhaegar says, Rhaegar, this is a great quote. I might actually use this, and I'll give you attribution. Body cams revealing a fatal flaw in the victimization industry. Plot twist. Love that quote. Thank you for that. That was a great one. Obama was, Heather says, Andrea rather, says Obama was an anti-Semite. I think Obama hated everybody that wasn't a multiculturalist Muslim sympathizer. I think Obama fundamentally hated the United States. Look, I don't subscribe to birth or conspiracy theory. I think Obama was born in Hawaii, but I think Obama grew up in Indonesia and in these Muslim countries. I think Barack Obama didn't fundamentally identify with the United States. He didn't go to 4th of July parades. He didn't play Little League. He didn't grow up like I did, like other American kids did, like many Canadian kids do. I have friends from, I grew up in New York City, and I've always said Toronto is always a very comfortable place for me to be. Very similar. The city looks very similar. The people are very similar. I have a lot of Canadian friends, and down here in South Florida, as you well know, if you're up in Canada, even in the UK, a lot of people from Canada and the UK own condos down here in South Florida. I have many, many friends from both countries. And there's a lot of similarities to us culturally. Obama didn't have that. He was much more like a kid who grew up in Southeast Asia or in South Asia. Weird guy. Wake Up asks me thoughts on Elon Musk's idea for journalism. I talked about that. I did a segment on my show today. I love it. I love that Elon Musk, if you don't know what he's talking about, what the commenter Wake Up is talking about, Elon Musk wants to set up a site to rate the credibility and ethics and honesty of journalists and journalistic outlets. I think it is an amazing idea. He believes people care about the truth. They do. Right. New York Times says Hamas announced, this is from Hunky Monkey, Muslims broke through Israel's borders. The more Muslims would rush in, but they got shot. Yeah, that about sums it up. That was a good analysis there, Hunky. It was. And Hamas even admitted that those breaking in were Hamas terrorists. They did. So, and it's a tactic of Hamas. It's a tactic to use large groups of people, especially women and children, as human shields, but also as a diversion so their terror cells can break in other places. Jim Tratwick, I'm 52 years old. I was in the Boy Scouts and made it to life. Having girls as scouts will keep boys from being boys and turning into good and strong men. Boys need a place of their own. Jim, perfectly stated, sir. Could not have said it better myself. Excellent comment. Thank you very, very much for that. It's really tragic. But again, it's an assault on our institutions. An assault on our institutions. It's tragic. It's tragic. Grant Goshier says, feminists don't have children. They use minorities to fill that void. And that's a good point. They use protected classes to fill that void. That's a really, really good point. We see that in the Women's March. We see that in the Women's March. We see that in these Black Lives Matter marches. We see it in the Me Too movement. The victimization industry, as Rhaegar mentioned, the victimization. Let's call it from now on. The BVIC, the Big Victim Industrial Complex, right? I mean, Big Victim, right? This is a new lobby, Big Victim. And it is now an industry. Millions of dollars are flowing in to these groups. Allie Clark, thank you very much for that donation, but you didn't ask a question. I wish you would have. Thank you very, very much. That was very generous. Very, very nice of you. El Chupacabra says it's been so bad for him because he hasn't, or her, I don't know if it's a male or female, they haven't seen a single new Star Wars movie. Well, neither have I. I have to work a lot. I don't have much time. I'm pretty much exclusively a pay-per-view guy now. Did watch 2 great movies, though. Darkest Hour with Gary Oldman about Winston Churchill. Thought it was awesome. And 12 Strong about that first Special Forces unit to go into Afghanistan. And they did a lot of the fighting on horseback. Really cool films if you haven't seen them. Both of them really worth watching. Blake Runner, another good topic. NFL told their athletes they can't kneel to the anthem or there are going to be consequences. If you want to kneel for the national anthem, I don't know if you saw this. The NFL has sent down a rule. You have to kneel from the locker room if you come out on the sidelines. And it's not just players. It's anyone who works for the team. Donnie Gerbert just gave us a donation. Donnie, thank you so much. Your question is, John, would you care for a discussion about how to automate Congress? Direct republic, not direct democracy. Fundamentally, a great idea, as long as we could prevent fraud. But I do like the concept of live meetings with your representatives. I don't want to fully automate it. So fundamentally, I think it gives a lot of access to people who can't physically get to Washington, D.C. to Skype with a representative, things like that. As long as we can prevent fraud and we don't automate it to the point where people don't have audiences with their elected representatives. I think that one-to-one is still very important in our constitutional republic. Very important. But I would love to hear more about it. I certainly would. So reach out to me on Twitter. I'd love to hear more about your proposals because it's always been something I've been interested in. St. Jean of New York says, to Hunky Monkey, I knew when I heard about Israeli shooting Palestinians, it had to be a press op to turn public opinion. Terrorist groups always do this. Yeah, and Hamas backed off of it and admitted they were the bad guys coming across the fence. Pastor Phil Big says, Elon Musk's idea was great in a past environment, but after seeing how truth can be twisted by the left, it will become another tool to silence conservatives. I'm not so sure. Elon Musk isn't really a liberal. The liberals have actually been pretty cruel to Musk. And Musk was, if Pastor Phil, if you've been reading Elon Musk's Twitter timeline, it's been the liberal media attacking him and him pushing back on them pretty aggressively. So go read it. And then, excuse me, you might have a different opinion on this. Chaz, 1422. Great question, Chaz. I wouldn't even thought to bring this up. Did the case of Daniel Holtzclaw be revisited in light of all the police pullover lies? Yes. If you're not familiar, Daniel Holtzclaw, an Oklahoma police officer, accused of rape, sitting in prison. I believe he's innocent. Michelle Malkin, who's a good friend of mine. Michelle is wonderful. She's become very close to the Holtzclaw family. She and Nick Short. They're doing amazing work on this. Go over to michellemalkin.com and see what she's doing. Officer Holtzclaw is a victim. He should be clear. There is so much misconduct, Chaz, on the part of Oklahoma law enforcement, Oklahoma prosecutors. It is a disgraceful travesty of justice. And this poor guy is paying the price. My answer, absolutely yes. Holtzclaw's investigation, his conviction should be dismissed with prejudice. He should be recompensated for the time he spent in jail. And it should definitely have a giant spotlight on it. Thank you. Great question. Very passionate about that case. Allie Clark likes my show off the cuff. Allie, thank you very, very much. Can I say El Chupacabra? In my best Spanish accent, I need to show up Ezra. You know what? I'm Italian, 5th generation. I'll try it. El Chupacabra. How was that? How was that? Okay, let's see. The world is waking up. We're getting so many comments. It's about CBC Radio and how Hamas tried to play victim, but the world is not taking it anymore. The world sees through it. Andrea says, I think part of why this wave of leftism is taking place is the younger generations don't hear about our heritage anymore. Tell the kids about the bravery of our vets. And let's not sanitize history. Let's stop tearing down the statues and Confederate monuments. Let's stop attacking statues of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. There is this notion on the left that history has to be nice, that history has to be pleasant. History is bloody and miserable and brutal in most cases. History is history. Sanitizing it serves a disservice to everyone. To everyone. Gilligan says, I was going to say this battleground is great, but it needs more accents. I could try to do a New York accent, although I lost that as well. I promise you guys one thing. For the next time I sit in for Ezra, I'm going to brush up on my accents. This accent thing is working. Sheila, Fiala, will you help me out with an accent? Help me out with the accents. I've got to brush up on those. Apparently, everybody loves them. One American News, breaking the name Richard Cleggett as another spy talking to the Trump campaigners. People have asked me to talk about Cleggett. I have not seen enough supporting evidence for One America's story. I want to see some more supporting information on this before I run with it. All right, guys, it's not that I'm trying to avoid it. I had really solid information on Stephen Halper. That's why I ran with the name. Cleggett may be the guy, may not be the guy. I'd rather be right than first. How I built my brand, it's important to me. And then once we know it, we can dig in really, really deep. We can go in depth. We can figure out what's going on with that. Real Men Fish, Netflix hiring Obama and Michelle speak. Look, here's the thing about that. I don't care. Like, if they want to give the Obamas a deal, let them give them a deal. I'm not one of these boycott Netflix people over this. I know I'm going to get flamed by conservatives. Honestly, I'm a free market guy, right? And so here's the way I see it. I'm not going to rush out and cancel my Netflix. But if I see Netflix programming become universally far left, well, then it's not for me, and I'm going to cancel organically anyway. But I'll see, how much they give Barack and Michelle and how much content and how much production oversight they have before I rush out and cancel it, because I'll admit, some of the shows on Netflix I really like. They're pretty good, and I'm not yet finished with them, so I've got to continue. Now, Jesus is Lord is right. He says, Michelle Obama says she is the forever First Lady. I wish she would be the forever I'm going away First Lady. It was a ridiculous comment. Real Men Fish says, accents are great, John, but do us a favor and don't do a French accent. I couldn't if I tried. Same as trying to get me to sing karaoke. The bar would empty out. I'm not that guy. I am not musically inclined, can barely play the radio. Pretty sad because I was on the radio for a long time. And look, I agree. If you guys want to boycott Netflix, if you are offended by this, do it. Do it. I'm just not there yet. I'm not there yet. I don't do Netflix. I do Amazon Prime. So do I. I like Amazon Prime, but don't kid yourself. Amazon's pretty left-leaning as well. Yeah, Andrea, Netflix's programming is leftist for the most part. Their original content. But some of the old shows, and I will admit, some of their original series, the historical ones, especially the documentaries about drug traffickers, things like that, they're pretty good. I'm a fan of Narcos. I actually know some of the agents featured in Narcos through my law enforcement work. So those are pretty good, and I'll stick with it until they're so far left that they're falling off California while they roll out of bed, much like Nancy Pelosi does every morning. And Miss Little Pig says she likes the show. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Somebody asked me, Washington Capitals or Vegas Golden Knights? Neither for me. I'm from New York and South Florida. Easy out to that question. How about you? What's your team? Jeff Sessions made $25 to $50 million from the uranium to Russia deal, which he invested in private prison company Vanguard. That's actually been disproven, Pastor Phil. Look, I've been very critical of Jeff Sessions. I've been very critical of a lot of people. But what I don't like to do is run off of these speculative theories, which don't have basis in fact. And that one I've looked into. It is, it is patently untrue that he reaped rewards from that kind of thing. So I really do like, I like to vet the information before running with it. It's critically important that we do that. It's critically important. Oh, and Wake Up is with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Well, yes, and you're from Toronto. Good for you. And the Blue Jays, so you're definitely from Toronto. Hometown. And the Raptors. Yes, you are. Yeah, I'm a Yankees guy. What am I going to say? It is what it is. And plus, we live in South Florida, and the Florida Marlins don't exactly win baseball games, if you know what I'm saying. You guys have been awesome. I have to tell you, Real Men Fish says the Rebel is the best bang for the buck subscription. I think so. I'm on it. A bargain in perspective. But this has been great. You guys have been a lot of fun. Keep the comments coming. And like I said, I've always loved live. I love doing live television. I love doing live radio, taking the calls. Oh, let's see. Okay, doctors, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Dr. Lappy. John, what should happen to Obama if proven he had a hand in spying on Trump? He broke federal law. He should be prosecuted. If at the very least, his reputation should be shamed and smeared and outed. I mean, the hour goes by so fast, Ms. Little Pig. You're right. Defends the Red Sox fan. Kim Jameson, the Havana Ducks. I like this. Now we're learning everybody's sports team. We're going back to Dr. Slappy. Dr. Slappy. This is a very small font here. Yeah, I think if Obama was complicit in this and he engaged in illegal wrongdoing, he should be prosecuted like anybody else. No one is above the law. Rhaegar says, that's all right, though, about Netflix. We millennials are going to put cable out of business because streaming is better. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I have DirecTV, and I do watch streaming more than any of that. Allie Clark asked me if I think anyone will actually see jail time. Corrupt FBI Clinton. I'm not optimistic, but I will wait until the Inspector General report drops. I think that's going to be very telling. Very, very telling. I would be surprised if Andrew McCabe and possibly James Comey do not face prosecution. Vizik says, come on, John, show up Ezra. El Chupacabra. I can't. I guess. How'd I do? Let's see if I can do it again. El Chupacabra. Better? Better? El Chupacabra. A little better? Still not good with accents. Need Sheila back to help me. Barbara says, no one will see jail time. They'll just buy their way out of everything. Barbara, would have agreed with you a year ago. But from some sources, I'm hearing that there might be some movement. I'm still pessimistic, but a bit more hopeful than I was a couple of years ago. Rhaegar liked my Chupacabra. Okay, good. Oof. Oof. Didn't want to disappoint you guys. Pastor Phil, I know that channel you're talking about. I've watched it. I've not been able to even verify those people were in fact intelligence officers. Again, it's you can't even vet that those 700 are legit. I like to stay away from stuff like that. But listen, I hear you. It's all very, very concerning. Allie Clark says, nope. Cardillo, you failed. Ezra kills it on accents. Hey, I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. Accents ain't one, Allie. But hopefully you like the rest of this. It worries me somewhat. I heard Rebel got some of their stuff blocked on Facebook from Darla McKinnon. Yeah, Facebook has been a little bit heavy-handed with the Rebel, recommending that the Rebel shut down its Facebook page, but really not explaining what was offensive. Pretty clear what's going on there, just more conservative backlash, or I should say, backlash against conservatives. Andrea says, I wish conservatives had better options with social media. Andrea, so do I. So do I, but unfortunately, Rebel V6 like my Chupacabra. Unfortunately, Facebook and Twitter are what they are. They're gigantic organizations now. They're, world global brands. It's going to be very hard to compete with them. I want a sign from Rebel Media, stay off my lawn. Okay. Somebody over here might be able to make that happen for you. Shouldn't be too tough. You mind if it's in Sharpie on a piece of printer paper? You're okay with that? I can do it for you. Not a problem. Facebook and YouTube are censoring conservatives, Andrea tells us. Yes, they are. All of social media is. John Zealand says Clapper should shut his trapper. I agree. Or actually, he should keep talking and we can use it against him in a criminal proceeding. The J-Vlog asked my personal thoughts on immigration. Simple. Legal immigration is legal. Illegal immigration is illegal and should be shut down. Gavin McGinnis is the king of accents. Craig McDonald says, Gavin is a really good friend of mine. I actually saw Gavin last week in D.C., had a drink with him. Nobody does accents like Gavin. I'll give you that one. Gavin is outstanding at his accent. They're talking about YouTube commenters, conservative YouTube commenters who was shut down. Yes. Free speech in North America under attack. Diamond and Silk love their show. Blake Runner. Diamond and Silk are actually dear friends of mine. I was with them in D.C. last week as well. We were all sort of at the same event. And what they've gone through is terrible. Diamond and Silk are two of the nicest women you will ever meet. Not pretentious, just two sweet girls from North Carolina. And I am so glad, so glad at the way they called out our Congress here in the United States. So glad. They've done... Kim Jameson says that sign is to be in English and French. I can give you the English version. Come on, guys, help me out. Can anybody give him the French? I'm not your guy for that as well either. So sorry about that. No French accents or French writing here. Yeah, but Diamond and Silk are awesome. And let me tell you, this is really taking its toll on them. They're very upset they spoke about it. Clock Cutter says, it's okay to import another 40 million Dem voters so long as it's legal. Well, look, legal immigrants tend not to vote Democrat. We see that legal immigrants typically mirror the U.S. population and the voter breakdown. So I'm not going to condemn people that follow our laws wait in line and do it right. The United States really is, in that respect, a nation of immigrants. I'm Italian American. My family came here 4 generations ago on one side, 5 generations on the other, legally. So I'd be very hypocritical if I insulted legal immigration. And Donald Trump's wife is a legal immigrant. He ain't voting Democrat, nor did my family ever. Jesus is Lord, says Candace Owens, got very popular very fast. Well, Candace is a real sharp girl. She's a good friend, and I think she deserved it. She went where people were too afraid to go, and she's built her brand, and I like what Candace is doing, and I'm more power to her. I hope she becomes more famous. She's a very effective voice. Hillary will have the greatest defense of all time. The prosecutor will have to, it says from Hunky Monkey, have to make sure his ducks are in a row. If the prosecutor loses, it will be humiliating. I don't think Hillary is getting prosecuted. I don't think she's getting prosecuted. I would hope Huma Abedin does. I would hope Hillary does, but unfortunately, I just don't think. I just don't think we're going to see it. It's unfortunate, but look, something needs to happen. Here in America, we now feel we have 3 standards of justice. One for the regular people, one for the political and celebrity elite, and another if you happen to know the Clintons. Maybe even 4 if you are the Clintons. If you are the Clintons, you don't even get interviewed under oath. Your interviews aren't memorialized. You can pretty much come and go as you please. It's pretty disgraceful. White Knight Prod says legal immigration is a great thing. It's just unregulated influx of people that is bad. Couldn't agree more. And illegal immigration should have to be shut down. Have to be shut down. Somebody asked me why Bering got shut down on YouTube. I have no idea. Don't have any idea. Haven't really dug into it. Keep calling illegal immigrants what they are, illegal, not undocumented. I actually call them illegal aliens because they are criminal illegal aliens. Every illegal alien is a criminal illegal because they are here illegally. Ergo, they are criminals. And if you notice, the Washington Post excoriated President Trump, saying, well, he was condemning and calling all immigrants horrible names for the actions of a few. A few? Immigration and Customs Enforcement Director Tom Homan yesterday noted that there are 10,000 MS-13 gang members in the U.S., 2,000 on Long Island, New York. A little bit more than a few, Washington Post. A little bit more than a few. Boomer walks and Wiener gets the shaft. Hooter Doggy says, oh, there's so many jokes we can make about that, but unfortunately, Wiener's a pedophile. Terrible guy. Huma Abedin should be prosecuted much the same way. She physically, with a hard device, a thumb drive or something of that nature, put classified info on his laptop to hide it. Huma should be prosecuted absolutely. Amanda Joy says, Facebook keeps removing my conservative comments. Not surprising, Amanda. They've done it to me as well. They have done it to me as well. Rhaegar, I like how illegal immigration was opposed by Democrats not even a decade ago. Now you're racist if you want people to come in under the same law. Rhaegar, the Democratic Party is the party of hypocrisy. So we should expect more of that in the future. We should expect more of that in the future. It's really the party of gross hypocrisy. And illegal immigration is illegal. MS-13. MS-13 is a brutal, vicious organization. A brutal, vicious organization. Frankly, I think Trump is too nice calling them animals. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the press secretary, was right. These people are savages. They are subhuman. They are sub-animal. I have pets. They're wonderful. They're loving. MS-13 need to be put down like the rabid savages that they are. Blake's going back to work in his butcher shop. No PETA members need apply. Take care, Blake. Thanks very much. I'm a big fan of steak. Maybe a nice New York strip. Nice thick cut porterhouse for me. Keep me in mind. Thanks very much. This is, guys, this has been absolutely outstanding. El Chupacabra, you take care as well, guys. This has been so much fun. Absolutely outstanding. Hope to see you here again. Thanks so much for watching. Really, thanks for donating. But most importantly, thanks for keeping the comments coming. They were awesome. We got through so much today. You have no idea how much fun I had, how much I appreciated each and every one of you. I'll see you guys next time. This has been Battleground. John Cardillo sitting in for Ezra Levant.